Burbank Sports Cards is the largest online and in-store card retailer in the US. They have over 40 million cards listed online and buy over 20,000 cards every single day in their store. Rob, the owner, has been building this store for over 30 years and has agreed to give me access to the behind-the-scenes operations of how this incredible business works and share with me how he's managed to thrive in an industry with so much competition and volatility. All right, so here's the front of the store, what people see when they walk in.
Sure.
What was the thought process behind what you were dreaming of for this space?
Well, I think that there's two questions that people ask when they walk into a shop. One, what's new? And two, are you buying? So we really try to bring that experience as close to the front door as possible. So when you walk in, anything that we have is new is right here in front of you with all the pricing. So that answers that question almost immediately. And if you need these products, we have them on the shelves. But this gives that answer right off the bat. Then this is our buying station over here. Now we don't start buying it today until 2 o'clock, but we generally have a couple people stationed here. You put your name on the list to sell, and we call your name when we're ready. And we can go through 50 names in a day. It's just unbelievable how much we can buy. So we take care of the two biggest questions right when you walk in the door. And as far as what's new singles wise, we answer that question as well, because people know first thing they want to look at when they get into the store is our sneak preview graded cases. These are the cards that are literally a day away from going online. These are cards that could have been bought yesterday. They get 24 hours in the shop, create that FOMO. Those cards will get pulled the next day, go online, and a fresh 2 showcases will go in that following morning, which means we need to be able to buy a lot of cards to power that. And one of the things you'll notice throughout the shop is every showcase has signage, so that we've created this roadmap. Because with 42 showcases, it could be mind-numbingly difficult to navigate what you're looking at. So this would be the sneak preview graded singles, and we do the same thing for raw as well, as we build a showcase every single day. And those to me are the two most popular showcases in the industry because they literally rotate 250 times a year.
Oh my gosh.
Every single day, Monday through Friday, you get another fresh 150 graded cards into this showcase that nobody's seen before.
Do you have people who will come in like daily or multiple times a week just because of these cases, because they know they're coming and going?
Oh yeah, no, they know that if they're not here early, there's a good chance that it's going to be gone. And once I open it up to online, that's when we really start selling things quickly.
Wow.
So it's a way to create the FOMO, get people in here multiple times a week, in some cases multiple times a day, because I'll still add stuff over the course of the day. So this right here is A through H, alphabetical baseball by last name. People would say, well, why don't you have them alphabetically in the showcases? Well, I don't want to have Mike Trout on the bottom shelf alphabetically when his best stuff should be on the top shelf. So it's just a matter of tweaking things, kind of thinking outside the box. But again, somebody comes in looking for a certain player, boom, any of our premium stuff is really easy to find. And what we did with the graded new arrival cases, we did the same thing with raw. These rotate really quickly as well. A lot of the stuff was bought yesterday. That's how quick we process. Raw basketball new arrivals under $50. And we'll have it for basketball, football, baseball. And again, you know exactly what you're looking at. Over here, this is all hobby product, and you'll see baseball, football, and basketball. It's all competitively priced. We try to keep it nice and clean.
If you had to guess, how much of what you sell would you say is like wax or sealed product versus singles?
It might be 50-50. I mean, you would think product would be more. We just sell so many 4-digit single cards that it really adds up. Plus all the singles we sell at the warehouse as well. So it's either 60-40, 50-50. Not exactly sure.
Yeah.
We just sell a lot of singles. So another thing that we want to do is we want to have price points for everybody, and we want organization. So you walk in the store and you're looking for Mookie Betts cards. We'll have some pricier ones in the showcase, but we also want to make sure that we have something for collectors that meets a price point. And you can sit there and you can go in here and boom, these are all Mookie Betts cards. And you can come in here and you'll see singles. Actually, it looks like somebody messed them up a bit, but you can see it's alphabetical, and you'll see all the different dividers here. And you'll see on the outside, baseball stars, $1 each. Hank Aaron to Bo Bichette. And you'll see that for all the different sports. So we want to make sure that it's a physical database, basically. And again, it's just saying yes to people. But let's run over to the fishbowl and check that out.
All right, that's this little glass area over here, I'm guessing?
Yeah, basically when we moved in here, it was a conference room. And we weren't sure exactly what to do with it. It's an extension of the shop. So you'll see that we'll have the product here. You saw baseball, basketball, football on that other wall. Here you're going to see soccer, racing, wrestling, all the other sports, and they'll all be along these walls, as well as gaming and non-sport. So we're real happy to be able to do that.
That's incredible. I've got so many questions about, in the last 35 years, how the business has changed and your biggest business philosophies, but let's maybe pull up a couple chairs for that.
Yeah, let's do that.
But just before I sat down with Rob, I asked if I could meet the secret genius behind Burbank's online card operation. To my delight, I not only got to meet Ryan, who has been optimizing this side of the business for 10 years, but he also agreed to give me a behind-the-scenes tour of the largest online sports card shop in the world and personally show me how it all works.
I've got 8 aisles just in this little space right here, and every single one of them looks exactly like this, just to the ceiling with 5,000 count boxes.
Okay.
We're gonna take a look at, this is basketball here in yellow, and this is baseball here in green. And the first thing you're gonna notice is everything's the same year. And as we kind of walk down the aisle, you're also gonna notice that it's gonna descend in year. Everything's in year order. Everything, we are all about organization here. Order comes through, we need to be able to pull it as quickly as possible. There can't be any downtime. We need to know exactly where everything is. Everything's got to be in number order. Everything's got to be just ready to go, because when you're pulling and processing 2,000-3,000 cards a day, there's no time to be, to dilly-dally about it.
2,000-3,000 a day. So what is the average sale price of those 2,000 to 3,000 cards that you guys are selling? And this is all on eBay, by the way,
all
right?
on eBay and our Beckett Marketplace store.
Okay.
The average ticket's about $1.30 in this building. eBay's mostly 1, 2, 3 card orders. Our Beckett store is mostly 50, 60, 70, 80 card orders. Typically, eBay customers are looking for one specific item. They want something to get signed, or they just want something for a gift. They want 1, 2, 3 cards.
Yeah.
The guys on our Beckett Marketplace store, they want to fill sets. So they're like, okay, I'm gonna buy 60 cards from 87 Tops Traded because that's what I need to finish my binder. I'm gonna put my binder away, I'm gonna put it in the garage, and then I'm gonna give it to my kid in 20 years, and he's gonna have a complete set of that. And I hope it's worth more than what it's worth today.
All right, so Ryan, walk me through the life of an order of the Burbank Sports Cards eBay store.
So essentially, we're just gonna, got a label ready to go already, got the order invoice ready to go. This is going to a customer in New Jersey. It's a $9 order plus shipping to New Jersey. It's $15 out the door, and it's 16 total cards. Order's been pulled except for 3 cards, so we can go grab those 3 cards real quick to complete the order, and then we'll go kind of like walk through where it goes after that. So
as you're walking us there, one thing that I know a lot of people will be curious about is like, what kind of margins are you guys shooting for with this? Because I mean, a 16 card order that's like $15.
Yeah.
Someone like me is thinking, holy cow, like you've got labor cost, you've got fees that you have to pay, there's storage, the real estate is expensive.
100%. Well, the first thing you got to remember is we're as organized as humanly possible, but our margins on the cheaper stuff are pretty good. Are pretty good. We shoot for anywhere between 70-80% margins on cheap stuff, which means that this stuff comes in and it's kind of bulked.
Meaning you're paying like probably a cent or a few cents.
I'm paying bulk prices. Sometimes I'm paying half a cent. Sometimes I'm paying a cent, But the cost isn't in the card. The cost is in the labor to get the card ready.
Exactly.
That's our basically cost. And then we sell the card. We have a 60 cent minimum on Beckett, and then we have $1 minimum on eBay. So we're going 1982 Topps football. I know football's all peach, so I'm just gonna cruise right here to 82, and we need card 452. And I'm gonna make sure that the customer ordered it in near mint, which means essentially like it was pulled from a pack, which this one's pretty nice.
Okay.
So I'm gonna throw that in there. I'm gonna hit it with a little just mark to make sure I know that one's good to go. And then we're gonna go to 1983, which is actually right here.
It's interesting that even a pack fresh card that's that old is still 99 cents.
Yeah. Wilbert Montgomery from 1982 Topps is not a star, not a rookie, and I don't think he's definitely not a Hall of Famer. So he's what we call a common. They come in when we intake them at common prices and they sell at common prices.
And you're also providing them a service because now they don't have to go to a whole bunch of different eBay stores and buy a bunch of different stuff. Your inventory is such that they can buy a ton of it just with you.
We cast a huge net.
Yeah.
So if you need the stuff, shipped, landed, our price is almost always going to be the best. So I need 83 Topps stickers, but I need 291. So I'm going to go in here. These little like flimsy stickers. They're so small, but we do this, you know? This is a service that we offer. This is kind of baked into the whole experience of shopping, like with someone like us that takes everything. I have these top stickers of Wilbur Montgomery. Who else has, you know, stuff like this? And then I'm gonna pull the last card. I need 1985 Topps number 134. Again, Wilbur Montgomery, same name, and boom, I already got it.
So at this point, is this order ready to be shipped out?
This order's done. I'm gonna initial it up top. I'm gonna put my initials on it. I'm gonna circle it. Everything's all checked off. I'm gonna double check the card amount here, that I have 16 cards. We're gonna go put this in the shipping area right now.
Okay, so how many orders is the average employee going to be pulling like per hour?
Well, the ideal amount is 2 to 3 cards a minute. Is the ideal.
Okay, it's by card.
It's by card.
Gotcha.
Because all order sizes are different. But 2-3 cards a minute, and at that point, with the kind of volume we get right now, that's where it gets it to a point where, okay, everything's manageable at 2-3 cards a minute.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Now that I had a better idea of how the business worked, I asked Ryan if I could pick his brain for some of his best business advice from the last 10 years in the industry. So Ryan, you've been in this now for going on 10 years.
Going on 10.
What is something that you guys do better than most online card shops that you see?
Well, number one, we buy more than other online card shops. We're always open for buying. We have a storefront that the first thing you see when you come in is the cash register to check out and the buying table. So we're always buying.
So all of this comes from just the storefront?
This comes from the storefront. We don't travel.
Wow.
I know tons of people who were customers and then maybe open their own store, or maybe hey, I'm gonna quit my job, I'm just gonna do cards full time. It's really hard.
What are some of the biggest pitfalls, either like in terms of mentalities or external factors that you see as causing the death of like small card businesses?
Just thinking that things are always gonna be as they are right now, because things are in the sports cards market right now pretty good. I can't complain. When I started in 2015, 2016, it was not the same. We had very little walk-in. Most card stores had very little walk-in. Our online was pretty good, but you know, we were getting allocated product and we were paying $40-50 for product, and they'd come out at $70, $75 SRP, and within 3-4 weeks they'd be like $40. They'd already be $10-15 under cost.
Was this used or new product?
Straight from the manufacturer.
So the new product you were buying was depreciating in value after you got it from the distributor?
Right away. Basically within 2-3 weeks.
Oh my
And
gosh.
people were just race to the bottom. I'm gonna sell this for $2 over cost on eBay, free shipping immediately across the board. And that's the landscape. And that wasn't that long ago.
That sounds brutal. I mean, how did you guys get through that?
We just had to rely on the strength of our online business, the strength of because we had at that time we had no really walk-in customers that were buying stuff. We would buy stuff. People would come in and sell us stuff all the time. We'd go to the national convention. We'd go buy a bunch. But as far as like selling product and selling cards like in the store, it was really tough.
What words would you have for people? Because that's true not just in sports cards,
Yes.
but that's most industries. There's going to be ups and downs, and there are going to be times that like young business owners that are going to be a lot darker than they expected. What words of advice would you have for people who are in one of those stages right now?
Just live in the present. I mean, you are the master of your own destiny. The business and the amount of stuff you sell and the amount of stuff you buy is only going to be as good as the work that you show up and you put into it. There's nobody else that can do it for you. You have to be the one to say, I'm going to sit down today. I'm going to be a little bit better today than I was yesterday. I'm going to sell a little bit more than I sold yesterday. And if I don't, then I'm going to show up the next day and work even harder to make up for that.
incredible advice. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
man.
of
That
course.
means a ton.
Yeah.
After wrapping up with Ryan, it was time to head back to the retail store to chat with Rob again, because I'd been saving some of my most brutally honest questions for last. So you've had the card shop itself for over 30 years, but just in the last couple, you've also branched into card shows, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that transition and what unique challenges that has brought.
Well, it's funny because with COVID and as we're starting to come out of it, Dallas and Texas was wide open. And here you have these people from Southern California, which I think is the most vibrant area in the country for collecting, having to sit there and spend $800 in airfare and hotels to go to a show in Dallas, with all that money just evaporating from the industry.
Right.
And I didn't know a damn thing about running a show, but I had a friend who did run a show named Jay, and he runs the Premiere Show and still does to this day. And I asked him, I'm like, maybe we should do something to get a show into this area, because I don't know why people are having to fly to other parts of the country when it could be in their backyard. And he's like, you want to partner with me? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know the first thing about running a card show, but I'd love to throw my brand behind it. And the next day he was scouting locations, and all of a sudden I'm looking at the Marriott Convention Center, this big expensive space, and I'm like, my original thought, and this is kind of the joke with us, is I was thinking about the Elks Lodge. I mean, literally that was my...
Is that small?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was my thought, was we would start with the Elks Lodge. And he's like, what, are you crazy? And I'm like, I don't know. And so we did the Marriott. It was packed. The line went forever to get in. And then we knew we were onto something. The next show after Burbank was 4X in Ontario. Then we went 2.5X to Anaheim right after that. So the growth was incredible. And we're getting grading companies that are grading on site. We're getting the kind of things that were reserved really for the national. And most of the corporates realize that the West Coast has been underserved for 18 years.
Wow.
And so
just in the last couple of years, your show has, I guess, more than 10x'd in size and attendance.
yeah, it's been wild. And we call it a cardcation. I mean, the Nationals in Cleveland this year, you talk to the wife and kids, they might not want to go to Cleveland. So it's a solo pursuit in you going there.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting there saying, you guys interested in going to a show in Anaheim that's across the street from Disneyland, all of a sudden it's more tempting offer. And you can tack a few days on before or after the show and truly make it a vacation/card show, a cardcation.
I've heard you talk in previous videos both about your shows and about the store, about the Burbank experience, and really wanting to protect that. But
Yes.
I was curious, what is the Burbank experience?
I think it's just a vibe, it's community, it's the way we can create liquidity for your cards. We can take those cards, get them turned quickly into cards for others to purchase. Being able to say yes, I think, is really what it comes down to, where almost anything you can ask us, we have a solution for it and we can activate it. You know, it's, you basically come in and you're looking for an obscure player, you're looking for Phil Plantier baseball cards, and you go in any other store, they're going to look at you like you have three heads. We can point you to our Beckett Marketplace store. You can sit there and see 78 different Phil Plantier cards, purchase them, choose in-store pickup as your shipping option, come on in and pick them up. So we can do things from that Phil Plantier to spending $25,000 on your collection, or being able to create those sneak preview cases every single day. And that's all part of an experience. We have a large shop, well lit, clean, and I think that that is an experience that's kind of unique to us in the hobby space. And it's just a family-run business. You know, I've got a 29-year-old son, I got an 83-year-old father, and I'm somewhere in the middle there. And I think it's, you know, just, you know, leave your troubles at the door and come on in and experience something that is unique.
You've talked in the past about needing to remind people in the space that, like, card collecting is a hobby.
Right?
I was curious, why is that reminder necessary?
It's because too many people gravitate towards the loudest voices or gravitate towards people with the biggest social media followings. And I call those folks the vocal minority. And I call the actual hobby the silent majority. I'm going to say 80 to 85% of the people that are involved and this great hobby of ours are just real collectors, not flippers, not breakers, not people that just want the latest product. And we prove that at our warehouse every single day with the sheer amount of orders and the way that those singles are. You can tell this person collects players from Notre Dame. This person's trying to build this set. This person is collecting guys with the same last name. There's a million different ways to collect cards. And I think it's lost on this generation a little bit, but sometimes I need to have the loudest voice and sit there and say, it's a hobby, damn it. You would be so much better off in this space if you weren't so concerned with comps and card ladder, and you were more concerned with that bubble mailer that came in that added cards to your Ricky Henderson collection.
Sure.
Or all of a sudden you've been, back in the day, you couldn't afford some of these cards. Now you have some income. Now you can actually buy those cards and build your collection and use the supplies and build it any way that you want. And I think people will stay in this hobby a lot longer if it's treated more like a hobby and less like an investment or a flipping situation.
So you're saying those loud voices, the pendulum has swung too far to just like making the quick buck,
Yes.
away from like the enjoyment of the hobby.
Right, and I think we've built this place around the enjoyment of the hobby. And granted, we have really expensive products and really expensive slabs, but I showed you the dollar boxes by player. You saw the warehouse with Ryan that's got 2.4 million different cards in that building. So we want you to be able to sit there and any name that you put in, we want to have results. We want to say yes to that. And people would be floored if they saw the kind of cards we sell every day. And some of these guys, oh, that's junk, that's worth a penny, that's junk. And I'm like, no, actually, to a lot of people, this is actually gold. This is actually what they're looking for. And I just think that there's a disconnect. And with Fanatics, I've been trying to hammer that home as well. Cover the hobby journey. Cover why people collect what they collect. Not just some bro that hit this Wemby and all of that. There's so much more to this. And I think that if the loudest voices actually spoke about the actual hobby, I think that we'd be in a much better space. So that's just me.
And how, with this space, are you trying to foster the actual hobby rather than just like the investment or the money side?
I think you see a gentleman right there. What is he looking at? 1962 Topps cards. They're all in number order.
$250 each.
$250 each in number order. Everything's sleeved, and he's going to probably spend 2 hours here going through cards. You'll see people all the time in our dollar boxes, discount boxes, all those different types of things. And you know, we try to foster that every single day. And we're hoping to be able to integrate the warehouse and the showroom into one entity at some point where literally you'll be able to come in, be able to sit at a computer, be able to order the cards you're looking for. You're looking for a 2021 prospect of a guy I've never heard of, but I might have 38 different cards of his. Wouldn't that be cool if that guy could sit down, go through, see the cards, see all the images, be able to place that order, and we can pull it in a few minutes for them? All of a sudden we go from having 42 showcases to having like 10,000 showcases because we have all of these singles available just like that.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that will be the next progression at Burbank, is the ability to be able to sit down, see our entire inventory, and be able to have those cards pulled in minutes, which I think is awesome. Now that's going to take about an 18 to 20,000 square foot building to do it the way I want to do it. But we are actively looking for a building of that size to make that happen.
So this is not necessarily the final destination for Burbank that we're sitting in.
This is not our forever home. We want to get into our forever home. We don't want to have to move again. And even if it's a little bigger than what we need, it just makes sense. And so there's a building we're actively pursuing right now that is a game changer for us. So, you know, stay tuned.
So outside of the quick buck mentality that you are finding increasingly in the hobby, what are some of the biggest threats facing the card collecting hobby right now? Because I know, at least in the collectible space as a whole, there's a lot of concern that the younger generation just doesn't collect as much as previous ones do. I guess this is kind of a double question. Is that something that has rung true for you as the owner of a card shop? And what are some other threats that are on your mind?
Yeah, I think that breaking, I stand by it. I'm just not a big fan of it.
And by the way, for people who don't know, when you say breaking, what does that mean?
Where products are broken and everybody gets a team, and the product's open and you get the cards from that team. Unfortunately, most of the people that partake in that don't feel great about what they get. It's something that is fractionalized gambling, which I'm not a big fan of.
Usually in a live auction format.
Yes, it's
get it,
live.
yeah.
It's almost never taking place physically. Another idea that we have, though, I'm not a fan of breaking whatsoever online. I just don't think it's a great experience financially for people. But what if, and I don't understand why people don't do this, because to me this makes all the sense in the world. If we were to break, it would be physically in store. Because what's better than getting 30, 60, 90 people a day physically in the shop to do it, where you had someone that was really entertaining in front of them doing it, and they get the cards right away.
Right.
I think that people don't want to do that because they don't want to have that face-to-face interaction when so many people are basically getting smoked.
When someone has spent a good amount of money on the chance that this might pay off.
Right, and almost always it doesn't. And
you don't necessarily want to look that person in the eyes.
Exactly. But if we were to do it, we would make sure the price was great, that we'd have the randomization in place for you, and maybe get some kind of celebrity or bring somebody on board to do that. I think that would be the way to do it. And I don't understand shops that break. I'm like, dude, why wouldn't you want a whole lot of people to come physically in your store to do it, and even be able to buy the cards back from the people right then and there? I'll never understand it, but I do understand it because they don't want to be face to face. They want to have that distance. And but if I were to do it,
don't want to.
No, but if I were to do it, it would be physically in the store and set up an area that's exclusive for that event, and be able to market it. And I don't know. I think that there's too much of a vig that goes into breaking that gets every card so much more expensive, making the chances of you actually coming out feeling good about it slimmer and slimmer. But if we could cut that vig down dramatically and do something physically in the store where they might buy more supplies, they might buy other boxes, they might buy more singles, might come in to sell cards and be a part of that event. I don't know. It's not out of the question.
And as far as the next generation, what are you seeing there?
I'm fortunate, and this is something that's never spoken about, almost like it's taboo. It's succession plans. And, I'm getting closer to 60 than I am to 50. Still got the energy, still got the drive, still love what I do.
You look great.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But down the road, you need to think about what's next. And, my son Ryan, he's 29 and just a savant. I mean, I wouldn't trade him, not just because he's my son. I think he's the sharpest guy in this whole damn industry.
Really good.
He's ridiculous. And the fact that my wife won't have to sit there and at some point figure out how to sell this thing, or do we keep going, and that we wouldn't skip a beat if anything ever happened. And, he's been doing this now, 10 years with us, and as a full-time thing. And the progress that we make is exponential, because he looks at things a certain way, and he has skills, and my skills really don't overlap with his skills. So it really works. And I've still got my father involved, where his place looked nothing like this. He was a general contractor for decades, and he's very, very organized. And so none of our skill sets overlap. So the three of us really can create an experience, which I think is really cool. And
so this is now a tri-generational card shop.
Yeah, and hopefully one of my two kids gives me grandkids someday, and we can keep that going. But one of the questions we get on a regular basis is, would you ever think about opening a second store or opening a third store?
Yeah.
And the answer is just hard pass, no. And people are like, why? And there's multiple reasons why. A, we create a destination store. People are going to drive from Santa Barbara, Riverside, San Diego, and they do it all the time.
Yeah.
And they'll pass 8, 10, 12 shops to get to us. B, it's hard to separate the secret sauce here. Having Ryan separated from myself just would hurt. And I think the reason why this place is so successful is that we have everybody in one place. And once you start going out and opening multiple stores. I think it's just a weaker copy of the original. And you got to split your inventory. You need to buy so much more inventory to stock the stores. And just really no interest. And I see stores that open up within 5 miles, 10 miles of each other, and just kind of seems like you're cannibalizing your own business. If that one store is good enough, they're going to drive that 10, 15 miles to see you.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion.
Speaking of cannibalizing on the business side, a lot of stores that I've seen have chosen to go either in-store or online, but don't do both because the inventory tends to kind of like they're at odds a little bit.
Yeah.
You guys are at the very top level in both at the same time somehow. How is that possible?
Well, it wasn't possible for the longest time, and we chose e-commerce over retail, storefront, just because we were built that way and we wanted to be the shop of the world, more so than just the shop of the 50 square miles around us, and the fact that it was me. I didn't really have a whole lot of help. And then when Ryan came on board, he wanted to rebuild like our old shops, which were amazing retail stores. And I'm like, son, it's a lot of work. We're at the top of the food chain for e-commerce. I know we can build the ultimate retail store, but you need to be fully involved in this for us to do it. And we put our minds together, and we were able to do both at scale, which I really never thought we could do. And it's a tremendous amount of work running that warehouse with the 40 million cards and making sure these 40-something showcases are humming at all times as well. But again, that's the Burbank experience. Whether it's virtual or physical, we want to be the place you think of first.
We've got a lot of fellow small business owners that watch pretty regularly. So for them, one thing that I always like to ask is, can you take me back to one of the darker times in the history of the business?
Sure.
Talk about what was that and how did you overcome it? Because that's something that everyone's going to hit in their business journey.
It's funny that the biggest deal we ever bought was right at the height of the market crash, where we literally went to Hawaii and bought a collection that was 3 40-foot storage containers and cost me 30 grand.
No way.
30 grand just to get it back.
Oh my gosh.
Just to get it back. And it was the craziest collection I think anybody will have ever seen.
Well,
and we bought it when, paid more than my house was worth. And back then, that was like incredible amounts of money. Today, it'd be looked at as a really big deal, but not astronomical. But back then, it was a huge risk, and it happened right during the crash. And things were tough. But I do believe that rough times create opportunities. And when people are going out of business or people really are getting gun shy, if you really believe in yourself and you believe in your business, it's a tremendous opportunity. So you just ramp up the work, you just ramp up your hours, you just ramp up your passion, and a lot of people, you just outwork people.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Just like athletes, you got to be putting in the hours, putting in the work, where most people aren't doing it, to that extent. And that's what we do. We've never let go of an employee because of economic turbulence. And I'm proud of that.
That's crazy. In 30 years, that's really impressive.
Never. There's other reasons. You're incompetent, we caught you stealing, whatever it happens to be, but not because of economic collapse. Even through COVID, we retained all of our employees as well.
Do you have a favorite failure?
It wasn't a failure, but it was viewed as a failure, and it still has me on medication. But
Okay.
so basically, I built this amazing relationship with eBay, which was unique. And I used Beckett's database and software and able to power our inventory to eBay. And once eBay gave me this opportunity, I pitched Beckett on creating a service for dealers that could get things to eBay much more cost effective, because everybody was paying a nickel in insertion. So I built Beckett Business Solutions, and I thought it was the answer where we could get people down to a penny in insertion instead of a nickel, and we could build a multi-million card image database where you'd have all of Beckett's nomenclature, you have all their pricing, you have these stock images that are the right size for eBay, and we tremendously dropped the cost of doing business with eBay. And we literally tripled the business on Beckett. We put a 2 million card image database together within about 18 months. And basically almost any kind of regular card that you had, you no longer had to scan.
That sounded like a huge success.
It was incredible. But nothing I did was good enough for them. And month over month, we're just killing it. People that might have paid $249 a month, we're now spending $2,500 a month with us, because instead of getting a few thousand cards to eBay, they can get a few 100,000 cards to eBay at the same pricing. And they just became so much more streamlined. We just took steps out of their equation. But, the contract that I signed, basically no risk on their side, but they ended up firing me after a year and calling me incompetent. And that was devastating, because if Beckett Business Solutions existed through the pandemic, it would be like the most incredible thing ever, where you would have all of these tools and all of these images and the ability to get things to eBay at scale quickly. It was a huge miss on their end, but it was a failure because I wasted so much time on it. And I don't like being called a failure. I try to elevate like everything I touch. But that was a dark time for me, because I was the VP of e-commerce at Beckett, and I always wanted to be a part of Beckett. Jim Beckett was always my North Star.
Yeah.
But then again, I wasn't dealing with Jim Beckett. I was dealing with other people that worked there way past Jim was there, and it was very dark and frustrating. And it was something that, again, I thought was the future of e-commerce, and take away all the friction of listing cards. So that was frustrating.
How did you recover from that? I imagine that would be, you said, pretty devastating career-wise.
Yeah, I put everything I had behind this thing, just my whole will. And when I put my will behind something, things happen. I was just frustrated. I really thought that I could change the world, and I thought that I did. And to have that taken away, and it was rough. And then came back to just doing what I do, and just had, got more of a fire in my belly afterwards. I'll show them kind of stuff. And they ended up losing their relationship with eBay entirely, and that hurt for a lot of dealers that were using the system that no longer had an easy system to list cards. It hurt the industry. It didn't just hurt me. It was a solution that took so much out of the work of doing e-commerce just right out the window, and we would have been scanning at least 1 million new items a year to add to that database, probably more than that, so that people just would be able to get a product in, get it in the software, have the images already set, be able to use Beckett's pricing, whether it's 70% of it, 120%, doesn't matter, be able to push to eBay like that same day. Would have just changed everything.
I'm sure in the last few decades you've seen a lot of stores come and go.
Yeah.
What are some of the common traits that you see the stores that failed doing wrong?
For a lot of them, the owner was absent. They would have a wife or an employee running the store. I think it's critical if that you're the owner, you need to be there. I think the staleness of the showcases, the lack of organization, how dark they were, how cluttered they were. I always tell people, look at your store from the customer's point of view. Get on the other side of the counter. What do you see? Would my wife want to spend time in the store? Is this a place where my kids would enjoy themselves?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those stores from the past just didn't have that vibe to it. The wife, if she did come, she was sitting in the car outside. She wasn't comfortable coming in. I think lack of organization, lack of fresh inventory, and maybe even just attitude. It's like you're doing them a favor by getting out of your chair to be helpful. And that's just not the way it can be. And people will say, well, it's a card shop, they're different. I'm like, no, it's a retail store, and it needs to be able to match up to any other kind of retail stores in any other categories. And I think a lot of shops just didn't.
Here's a question that a lot of people don't necessarily want to go, which is, what did you have to sacrifice to get here?
Family time. My father, I almost never saw him. He's one of the hardest working people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Left well before I woke up, came home past dinner time, and I think I got that work ethic from him. So I think family time, social time, a lot of that, because my life has really been about this business, and I wouldn't change a thing. I'm not complaining about it, but I am saying that the hours I put in are extreme. So I think, getting a little older now. I'm going to try to maybe get out a little more. The wife's really starting to push me that you're doing well. You know, you have the money to go do things. Maybe we should go do things. And, but yeah, I mean, the sacrifices really has been working all of these days, working days that other people are going to the beach or other people are taking 3-day trips. And I think, yeah, I've spent the last 3 days in my office just surrounded by stacks of cards that maybe I could have enjoyed that weekend or taken that time. And looking back on, if I really would have taken that time 3 years ago on that 3-day weekend, would it really make a difference in where I'm at today? You know, maybe I could have done that. So I think that's the sacrifice for anybody that owns their own business, is you're your own boss. There's no guarantee of a paycheck. And if you go away for anywhere of any length of time, leaving your business, you're going to be thinking about your damn business the whole time that you're gone. Now you got to put trust into other people while you're not there, which is tough in a business with little, small, tiny things. But I'm trying to get that work-life balance is tough. Trying to get it a little better. It's tough. It's tough.
What's your end game?
My end game is for my son to take this place into the stratosphere. I mean, my dad worked really hard to make things easier for me in my life. I'm working really hard to make sure my son, because he tacked another 40 years onto this industry, onto this business. And I don't think a lot of people have that in place. And not only to have someone that can take it for the next 40 years, but are better at it than you are. And I've always thought of myself as kind of being like the guy, but he's got my dad's business tools, he's got my card tools, and he just absorbs so much information. He's so respected. And, I just want to be able to leave this to him where, God knows how big he can make this over the coming decades. So my end game is to be able to hopefully slow down a bit. I don't think I'll ever fully retire. I don't think that works for me. Just my nature isn't just to sit around for more than a couple days. But I've already given him a lot of the autonomy to do whatever the hell he wants. I don't manage him, and I think that's the thing that I try to be good about, not going in his office and complaining about something. And then I hope that he's doing the same with me, because when we cross paths, it's never good. But it's for him and his family to be able to continue the brand and just keep shining a light on what we try to do.
Well, Rob, this place is deeply inspiring to me. The fact that you are both at the top of your industry and also still have good relationships with your family is just, it's really special. So I can't thank you enough for having me out, man.
It was a pleasure getting to meet you, and you're welcome back anytime. This was fun.
If you're hungry for more sports card business content, check out this video where I interviewed the owner of the largest physical sports card store in the United States.